1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and stop. Okay, hands up, reach down, stretch. 1, 2, 3. To your right, to your left, center, inhale, exhale. Hands up, reach down. 1, 2, 3. To your right, to your left, center, inhale, exhale. One more time, hands up, reach down. 1, 2, 3. To your right, to your left, center, inhale, exhale. Okay, hands in your waist, circular movements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Center cross. Knees. Circular movements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Center. Hands on your waist, neck turning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Tilt. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Center. Down. Circular movements. 1, 2, 3. Reverse. 1, 2, 3. Center. Hands up. Pull in. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, spread your feet. Turn your shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, and stop. Okay, stretch it out. Switch. 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 Straighten the front knee. Switch. 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 Okay, center. Okay, shake it out. Okay, deep breathing, hands up. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, hands your waist. Shoulder roll. Reverse. And sana. Okay, press, release, exhale, inhale. And stop. Deep breathing. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Okay, wrists. Reverse. Okay, palms down. Bigger circle. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and stop. Center. And shake it out. Okay, shift side to side. Then we'll go one-legged stance. Okay, lift. Switch. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's try doing it with the insert needle. So going up and down, up and down, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and switch. Other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, and pause. Okay, shake it out. Okay, arm swing. Okay, leg. And center. Switch. Okay, center, side to side. Switch. And center. Okay, shake it out. Deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay. Silk grilling. Okay, switch. center. Okay, open and close. Switch. Okay, center. Preparation, circular movements. And center. Okay, lower hoop. Shoulder height. Okay, elbows down. palms down. Extend. Okay, deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, diagonal flying. Switch. Okay, Sana, cloud hands. Okay, carry tiger to the mountain. Infinity sign. Okay, form the fists. Okay, palms together, strum the lute. Turn, draw the bow. Okay, fan to the back. Okay, raise the hand. Okay, palms down, deep breathing. Inhale. Okay, good. So we'll go through the sequence. So I actually tried something this afternoon or this morning. We did the Tai Chi Paradigm on the oblique so that when they view through the camera, if someone's managing the camera, they would see this as the front view. And we get to go through it, and we're kind of giving the back image without it directly in front of the mirror. So we can try that. So you follow me? No? Confused? So we're going to line up on this oblique line here, facing that way. So after, because when I was doing the linear form with everyone, that was because the brush knee side of the form, all the way to Repulse the Monkey, is really one whole strip. So if you can see the line of movement and you're watching on video, then it's much easier to follow from behind. So this is how we would be in class and everybody would be following. So okay, it's okay either way. Okay, ready? Preparation. Step up on the left side. Forward, back, turn the corner. Right side, grasp the sparrow's tail. Right side, single whip. Okay, hold the ball. Diagonal flying. Step up. Press forward. Raise the hand. Bend from the waist. Stork flaps wings. Sink down, toe heel pivot. Now we're facing the mirror. We're going to do a brush knee and push. Second brush knee. Third brush knee. Fourth brush knee. Sit back, strum the lute. Step up, parallel stance, close the door. Form the fist and punch. Divert, block, and punch. Cross the arms. Leopard and tiger springs to mountain. Neutral position. Turn. Fist under elbow. Now repulse the monkey, going backwards. And then one more. Repulse the monkey, left side. Neutral position, vertical. Hold the ball, twist step, step up, turn, diagonal flying. Sit back. Insert the needle. Step forward. Fan through the back. Turn. Stroke down. Parry and punch. Step forward. Form the fist. Punch. Divert, block, and punch. Cross the arms, leopard and tiger springs to mountain. Carry tiger to the mountain. Cross the hands, so we're facing opposite the way we started. Bend from the waist, stork flaps wings. Pivot to your left, toe heel pivot. Left side grasp the sparrow's tail. Left side single whip. Hold and reverse the ball. Diagonal flying. Sit back, stroke down. Part the horse's mane. Toe out, step up, stroke down. Part the horse's mane. Cross corner. Jade Lady work shadow. Cross corner. Jade Lady work shadow. Hook your wrist, turn back to the front. Cloud hands. And single whip. Hold and reverse the ball. And close. Deep breathing. So it's just a different view from the camera side. Even though this is a live class, people that are following it might have a better time, tracking it, because it's always confusing on video, because once you face the person, even though we do mirror images in the warm-ups, once you do the form, it's the same side, so that's where a lot of times we get it mixed up. So anything in the paradigm you want to go over, or you want to just move to the long form? Should go to long form? Yeah. Okay, we can just do that in the regular, otherwise. But I've been playing around with these mirrors, trying to see how helpful it is to the student. Actually, one of the students said she was interested in buying a mirror. When she checked how expensive it was, she decided. Yeah. Okay, ready? Go through the long form. Preparation. Oops, sorry. Went right into cloud hands. we miss something? Did we miss this? Just an extra set of cloud hands, it's all. So that was the complete re-choreographed form. And we just didn't do the repulse the monkey and the downward posture the first time. Seeing, we saved the knees. So anyways, the last, you notice in the end of the form, there's a lot of palm strikes, faces, and then there's a lot of grasp the sparrow's tail. So they're saying that those postures must be important, mainly because grasp the sparrow's tail, is, the first four movements was a ward off, roll back, press, and push. So ward off is that rounding. That's the horizontal circle. And then push is anything that requires a palm down position or a palm out, sort of using the intent of the movement as a palm technique. So that's called an. So if we were splitting like this, essentially you would have sort of a rounding here, a palm here, and then this would be a press or a push, right? So that gives you the idea that even in this style, you have combinations of different techniques that are making up the postures. Like if you did this and this would be the push, the on, and this would be sort of the ward off over here. And then deflecting, roll back. That's kind of drawing down. Rolling back is moving down. This is sideways. Jade Lady works shuttle. And then press is anytime you sort of cross your hands. You have your cross hand position. You have a pressing is just a support side. So when you press like this, that's a press. When you go to, say, step up and raise the hand, that would be a press. When you go to cross hand position like this, that would be a press. So that gives you samples of different, so they call them energies. So what it is, it's really just like Hunga. We have our 12 bridges, which are different hand positions. You know, whether they're hand positions or it's really a technique, the methods. So you have hard and soft and Hunga. So that's the first two characters in Tai Chi. We have ward off, roll back, press, and push. And then you have the other four energies, which they classify as pull down, splitting, which is anything that separates. And think of the movements that separate. We press forward, that's your press. That's a splitting, separation. Diagonal flying, separation, a splitting. Apart the horse's mane is a splitting. High pat the horse, in a sense, is a splitting. You're separating the hands. When you do the heel kick after beat the tie, that's a separation. So splitting is the two hands moving in opposite directions in the same plane. See, so that's a splitting action. So splitting usually is kind of a capturing, or like an arm bar is a splitting. A separation like this is to separate someone's hands. This is a separation of the hands before you do the heel kick. So then you have elbow stroke, right? That's elbow stroke is poking with the elbow. Okay. Stroking around with the elbow if it's a rolling elbow. When you draw back, that's an elbow, right? And then shoulder. Shoulder stroke is when you initiate the splitting, you might initiate seeing the movement comes from the center of your body. You would lead here, turn, and then as you separate, your shoulder would lead. So sometimes when you see the slant diagonally, you're leaning backwards like that because you're really doing a shoulder stroke. Now, shoulder strokes, like anything else, has multi-dimensions, right? Shoulder stroke could be going backwards. It could be coming forward, right? It could be leaning. It could be lifting. So any of those are directional. So in Tai Chi, movements are directional. So what we have to do is define the direction of movement with a level of conscious intent. The conscious intent is what are you doing with that movement? So that's what we have to define, and by defining that, the intent of the movement is what you're trying to put together directionally. So, just diagonal flying. While you're here, you also have a slanting down. So the slanting down like this could be when you pull. So your slanting down could end up combining with a couple of those things called, you might be pulling down, rolling back, using a slanting movement from here. Like if you captured the arm from here and you turn, you could be pulling down. But once you start to pull down, then you could be going into the roll back. Because once you sit back, you're rolling back. Then once you roll back, you might end up as the capturing movement, which is plucking, pulling. So plucking is like a final motion. After you come to here, then you might pull. And that would be the intent and direction of your movement. So because movement's in space and it's three-dimensional, how do you capitalize on the space and use your body, effectively in that space? It's really your geometry. And you really don't have to go outside of your center line and the 45-degree corners. Anything outside of those corners, say if we're in single whip, so here's your center line, there's the 45, right? But these are 45, and these are vertical, parallel, and these are vertical, triangular. So how we get to our space, and this was what we were talking about yesterday with cloud hands, when we turn to the corner, there's your center, there's your 45. But this 45 is the arm 45, this is the torso 45, this is the square, the 45, and that 45 and this 45 end up here. So the parameters of your movement when you go to here become outside of that center line, which is here, right? So you have the center line here, you have a center line here, vertical, then you have your outside 45, and you're coming into your inside, you go to your center, and you go to the vertical, to the 45 outside, and then you're down. So if you're in this corner and we're facing this, your circle actually is going to that back 45. Right? So that's how it kind of opens up. But because we're turning, the circle starts to become this because we're here to here. Now when we're here, that's how it gets a little bit bigger, because this elbow position is consistently this. So when we turn to this side, that should fill out that side. When we turn to this side, this should fill out this side because we turned. So it's just a spatial awareness. That's how you can measure it like that. And you see if you measure it like that, then it becomes logical. But when you're moving, it becomes a feeling of space and movement that's relative to your body. So the body knows that this is your center line. It knows this is upper lower hoops, and you carry tiger to the mountain or whatever you're doing. The body knows the space. It knows the space because you're programming it to be in the realm of that, referencing your own body. So when you reference your body, that's what you can look for to track your movement. So that's really how we develop consistency and accuracy of motion. And your spine is really the vertical flagpole. So the flagpole is the vertical line, true as can be, and the flag is the banner, and it kind of waves in the air. So there's the arms waving in the air, but it's waving, so it's soft because it's going with the wind. The vertical spine is rigid, and it turns. So that's the flagpole. But then what happens when you go outside to the right and left? You have to go forward and back. So if the flagpole was swaying, it would bend and kind of go yield like that. So those little yields, you might not see it unless it's really long. But our body, the spine is that, and then if you roll like this, then you have to sort of jut your back out. Yeah, it's not pulling your forehead down to your knees, it's really pushing your back out. So the pushing of the back is bowing, and then if you're here and you push your back out, then you have horizontal bowing, right? So your spine goes like this, and then it can go like this too because you tilt, right? And then your back, the shoulder blades, and the core, your center here, becomes concave and convex because you can bring your shoulders forward. That creates the rounding of the back and the jutting of the back. So you have two-dimensional movements there. You have a back jutting, you have tilting, right? And you have rounding. So those are that supports the three dimensions of motion in the hoops and in the circles and in direction of force. So if you're concerned with direction of force, you want to have them compatible, because if you want something to go this way, then the forces have to go this way. If you want the forces to go this way, then it has to be compatible with that, with the whole body getting involved. But the body's not always involved in the beginning because there's too much stiffness. Or then that stiffness is not just because the body's rigid, it's because it doesn't know to move. You know, how does the body know what to do when you don't teach it? So you have to teach your body how to do the rolling, the arcing, and then, you know, that's on one side. You know, you say, well, tilting really involves two sides. Because if this side compresses, this side has to expand. This side compresses, this side has to expand. So, you know, so if I roll forward, this goes inward, the other side goes outward. So that's like yin and yang. You know, this balance and movement and everything that we do follows that. Right? So this movement actually is splitting. Right? It's splitting when we kick. We would go high pat the horse, split, cross, fold, and separate in the same plane as a drawing. Right? Fan through the back is splitting, separating. So what has to happen is those two sides have to connect, not necessarily as an arm movement, but as a transition, which involves your legs and your torso to sort of fill in, you know, the voids when we're going into those three-dimensional actions. Because we're here, this is here, we turn to here, we lift to here, this one opens and this one goes out that way. So we have dimensional change. And then when we're on the opposite side, we have, and when we're going through the motion, like in their drills, we have to expand as we're splitting, but at the same time, you're drawing. Now what you have to do is, at the same time, tie in passive and active motion. So passive and active motion means they're both not doing exactly the same level of intensity, because one side tracks as a passive movement. What is a passive movement? It's the one that is sustained while the other part moves. What's the other part? Your torso. When your torso moves, then it ties to your legs. What happens to the legs? It differentiates between solid and empty, substantial and insubstantial. So you have to move your body. So that ends up a strategy when you practice that you have to build toward those ideas. So that's the only way you can progress, is to go through those motions to discover what the words actually mean. So it is a process, and it is a process of, you know, beyond just intellectual housing of information. It becomes a rewiring of your system. It becomes a motor skill, becomes a pattern of movement. It becomes tapping into your, you know, the side that, as creatures of habit, what happens? The transfer of information into subconscious. And then that transformation into subconscious eventually becomes a reflex action, and it becomes spontaneous because it just responds to what it had learned over the decades of practice. So that's how martial arts actually works. It becomes a subconscious reflexive action that is a controlled reflex. So I had taken a psychology course, you know, way back when, in, I don't know, maybe in the 80s, or maybe late 70s. So I wrote about this as a paper for, you know, how martial arts movements become reflex. So this isn't something that I just thought of today. It's something I thought about a long time ago. But Actually, at first I thought it was pretty good. But the thing is, I didn't use enough of the terminology he would want, you know. But I didn't know enough terminology to write like that. So, anyways, but it just shows you that, you know, there's you know, there's something to it. That's how we work as far as, um, you know, training to be skillful at something or skillful with insight. And insight comes from understanding. So in Tai Chi we call it Dongging, or understanding strength. That's what it's. Ging is the type of energy you have, like Fa Jing, Fat Ging. Fa Jing is using your trained strength from a skillful training or skill. So that's really Kung Fu. So while we study Kung Fu over there, this is actually Kung Fu at that level too. So Kung Fu is just a term. It just so happens the term Kung Fu has been applied more to the external martial arts or the physical martial art. Tai Chi has been looked at as not, you know, because it's looked at as a soft, sort of a health exercise that's kind of mystical. Something like Kung Fu is very obvious that it's a martial art. You know, you do all the count kicking and punching. So let's do the snakes creep down, just the hand movements, right? So when you turn to neutral and you turn like this, then turn back, that becomes your cover. And then we thrust to the center line. Now we invert the hand. So the hand goes here, and then this hand goes there. So what helps you to get this other hand there is turning away. So then it doesn't become so physical, right? A physical movement will be 1, 2, and then it becomes kind of 2 motions, one each arm doing its own thing. But if you turn and you thrust like this, and you capture and then you turn away, you actually create a position by maneuvering your body. So when you maneuver your body and you just do this, then this hand becomes much more gentle because it's not dominant and it didn't anticipate and create a separate movement. It became part of a motion. So that's how you kind of integrate the body to develop passive active movement and at the same time create the position that's required to capture the arm, right? So if I took your hand like this right here, and I just turn like this and I go like this, that's physical. If I'm like this and I go like this, I'm here, and then I turn, all I did was sink my elbow and create this position. Right? So with this position is where I can get my lift. Right? That's not quite viola position because it's on the side, but so it gets to this 45, which is more the single whip one. But you can see when you create and you turn and you draw. So when you draw the bow, then really it's your body can move as well. So if you're moving your torso, and then this can be much more gentle because you're driving it from somewhere else. This can be passive, and then at the same time, what can you do? You can manipulate in a separate context because it's working individually as a summation of something, as a sort of a response to it. Because our body is actually responding every time we shift. You know, if I go forward, there's something that keeps me from falling forward. It's an energy of pulling back. But you don't see it because they're compensating for the space and the movement. So your center of gravity is changing, but your body's also adapting to what's happening there. Otherwise, you would tip over. And you will tip over if your body is stiff. Because once in motion, you stay in motion, right? and then all of a sudden, you know, that's what happens. Like these big giant ships that get hit by a big hurricane or a tornado or whatever it is, and the boat starts going whoosh, and it starts waving. You know, it's just like in the movies. You know, it's the waves enough, and everything starts to fracture. It starts to break apart. You can imagine how that forces when it starts to ripple through. So this actually goes through your body too. We're creating this movement. So what is that? That becomes wave energy. We call it bulong. Bulong. Bulong is a wave. So when you take the movement like preparation and you cycle through like we do as a drill, and then you create the continuity in the body moving in a cyclic way, avoiding substantial and insubstantial, then you create a wave energy. And that wave energy is for disrupting your opponent or whatever you're dealing with. So that wave energy that we're using the body to create now becomes the same concept as, you know, moving a heavy object. You have to jostle it a bit to disrupt and get it moving, and then you can move it completely. So that's the idea of disruption. It's called, you know, it's like a pry bar going underneath a piece of granite, and you have to jostle it a little and then move it. So that's something that the ancients used to do to move heavy objects. You have to get it moving, and then you get something under it to use leverage to pry and to tip. So you put something there, and then you put a little bit of something here, and you press on the side, then you start to lift it. Right? So that's how, you know, we use body mechanics. Because when you get your hand here, and then you put something here, which is your pivot point, and you press down, you create leverage. Those leverage actions are used to disrupt your opponent and to break a joint. So that's what the arm bar is. That's what turning over and pulling down. And that's what pressing the elbow is, when you press the elbow. Why do you turn the hand and then press the elbow? Because you press it against the joint, against the natural folding. Because if you press on the side it folds, it's going to give before it snaps. Right? So, you know, there's some logic to everything that's being taught. So when you go like this, and what do? You go like this. Right? You go like this, and then you drop your elbow, and you go like this. So what you're doing here is this. I capture here, and I turn, then I'm here. That's how you invert the elbow. Now when you capture here, and you turn, now if you grab the fingers, then it turns, or you grab the thumb, and you turn. And that's really, you know, you can take those fingers and lead them in the direction, or you can take those fingers and lead your own movement. Right? So when you turn your hand, turn your thumb. When you turn your hand, turn your finger. Because you need something to direct your motion, right? So that is, you know, energy from the ground. So it says from the feet through the leg, up the spine, and it's manifested in the hands, and that's what the motion is. So, anyways, that's a lot of talk, but it's principles, and that's what we struggle with after form. Because once you get through the form, how do you know what else to do? Right? What makes it better? What makes it more like Tai Chi? What are the principles that lead it? So it's things that we just talked about: vertical spine, geometry of position, 0 and 245s. That's your space. And then inverting the hand, you have ward off, roll back, press and push, pull down, split, elbow stroke, shoulder stroke, and then you have forward, backward, right, left, center. That covers everything in Tai Chi as far as those principles. So that's Tai Chi's principles. You go to Kung Fu Honga, you go to the Pro 12 bridges, and they have, you know, many more, concepts as well. So Anyway, so we'll bow out. And any questions? No. Okay. What's that? Yeah. We'll do the long range bow. Did Bonnie leave? Oh, yeah. Hey, John. How's it going? Okay, we'll bow. Looks like we've got a few minutes before class, so windows are open. Ready. Okay, another day, another week.